How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the corner. I'm the DM as always, and today, yes, I'm sure many of you have already seen this before, and you might be wondering why am I making a video? Because nobody asked me to make the video. That is why. So this guy made a video. Ben, he's one of the best PoE 1 players. He's pretty high up there in PoE 2, from what I understand. Um, and I was watching another video reacting to this one, but I had to pause that video because they got about 20 seconds into it, and he said something that made me really confused as to why he said it. And you'll see why very quickly.
I don't feel like I have the energy right now, but whenever I do want to actually give a proper PoE 2 talk, I can give you a preview of what the first 5 words are going to be. I don't understand why PoE 2 exists. That's where it started. You know what? Maybe I do have the energy. Maybe I do.
Okay, so I want to immediately address this point because he opens up his video with this point. Okay. The reason why Path of Exile 2 exists is because there is a drastic change to every single way that Path of Exile works. Okay. You only have 2 flasks. The way skill gems work has been completely changed. The way support gems work has been completely changed. The way meta gems work has been completely changed. The way life works has been, well, not necessarily completely changed, but the way it interacts with armor and whatnot has been changed. The way energy shield interacts with things has changed. The way mana reservation works has been completely changed. In fact, it's been completely removed. Now it is spirit that you reserve. The way that movement works has been completely changed. The way that ranged abilities work has been completely changed. The way melee skills work has been completely changed. Do you see why I had to make this video now? The way everything in this game works has been completely changed. That is why Path of Exile 2 exists. If all of these changes were suddenly dropped into Path of Exile 1, Ben, do you seriously think that you would just be like, yeah, okay, whatever? No. And neither would 90% of the players who play Path of Exile 1. Because Path of Exile 2 operates entirely different and, dare I say, even antithetical to the way Path of Exile 1 operates. In Path of Exile 2, you are expected to continuously move, unless you're melee, and that's a whole different bucket of worms. You are expected to move while casting spells, whereas in Path of Exile 1, you are basically expected to tank everything to cast your abilities. That by itself is completely antithetical to the way the other game operates.
The original scope for PoE 2 was new campaign, new class, new ascendancies, new gems, and a new gem system.
No, that's not true at all. Originally, what they were trying to do, and then Ben, I'm sorry, but you clearly didn't watch the fucking developer talks because they've said this in multiple interviews. What the original scope was a model update to Path of Exile 1. They wanted to update the models for the player characters in Path of Exile 1, and I'll prove it. So this is this is over on Legendary Drops channel. Link will be in the description with the timestamp and everything. And he asks him, why did he make Path of Exile 2?
Game with PoE. You guys could have just visually updated it and continued to grow it. Why did you guys choose to make a second game making PoE 2? And also, why did you choose to support both?
So it's funny because we kind of creeped towards it in a strange way. The very initially, the plan literally was, okay, we need to visually update Path of Exile 1. But there was a very specific thing that was that was the big problem at the time. And effectively, what it is that the rigs for the for the player characters, that's like one of the first things that you'd need to make in a game, right? Because everything, like all the character animations and all the skills, but also all the armors need to be attached to them and all that stuff. Like all that stuff kind of goes on top of that. So once you've done that, it's something that you really can't change without redoing, everything related to characters.
That is the reason. It's not that they wanted a brand new story. It's not that they wanted new skills. It's not that they wanted any of this shit that you're saying. The entire reason why Path of Exile 2 exists is because they creeped into it. The original intention was simply to visually update Path of Exile 1. But because rigs for the character models are one of the first things made, they didn't really have a choice. And now, Ben, I do not expect you or anyone else really to have the knowledge of how video game creation works. But I do. So let me pull something up real quick to show you how it is done. So this right here is a picture of exactly how a game is created. Okay, it starts with the concept for the game, as well as level concepts. Concept art is also done around the same time as level concepts, okay? Then you do the low poly models for the characters, okay? This is actually what is rendered in a game, is the low poly model, okay? Then you have the UV layout, which tells the game and the renderer how the textures are supposed to be laid out. Okay, that's what UV layouts are for. Then you get the sculpting and the high poly modeling. These are basically the same thing, okay? Sculpting is like if you were to take into a program like ZBrush and actually sculpt the model itself into what you want. It's the exact same thing as like high poly modeling. The difference is high poly modeling, you're basically placing all of the edge lines, all of the vertices and everything, which I'm not going to really get into, manually, okay? Then you get into texturing, okay? Texturing and rigging basically happen at the exact same time. They also happen at the same time as level design because level design is completely independent and you have different people for that. Okay, but the reason why texturing and rigging is done at this exact same time is because once the models are done, and really the texturing and rigging can kind of be done at the same time as the high poly modeling and the sculpting to a certain extent, okay? But animation cannot be done until the rigging is done, okay? But texturing and rigging can be done at the same time because they are different things and they do not affect the other thing, okay? But then you have the animation after the rigs, okay? But something I want people to keep in mind here is that the rigging is not done until pretty much until the sculpting and high poly modeling is finished. Because you need that model, the final model to be done for the pretty much for the most part before you can really rig the model. Okay? And you cannot do animations without the rig. Like it's literally impossible to do it without the rig. So even if the original intent was to add new skills, they already have the rig and animation done. or they already have the rig done. So if the intent was just to add a new story and new rigs or new animations, that doesn't require a new game. But if they want to update the textures as well as the models, because they would need to update the models, right? Because this is a 10-year-old game. And the models, let's be honest, look like shit. Okay? If they want to update the models and the textures, first they have to update the models, then the textures. And because they've updated the models, they have to update the rigs. And since they are updating the rigs, they have to update every single animation in the game. So, no, the original idea wasn't to add in a new story and new skills and all this shit. It was to update the visuals of the game. By the way, this is 2 months old. You could have seen this before. There are older videos, by the way, talking about this very point.
Right? Like, that was the original scope, but shared endgame. And when we think about PoE 2, what is good, it is exclusively the things that I just said. It's the campaign. Like, the one single thing that PoE 2 actually does better than the first game is the new player experience in the campaign. It is so much fucking better. Like, this game's campaign experience is fucking dog shit if you don't know what's happening. Like, vendors use like 9 different currencies to buy things, gems, or 9 different currencies. Like, it sucks.
By the way, he has a point here. Just to be clear, he has a point here.
It's really bad. Whereas in PoE 2, like the uncut skill gems and the like vendors all being gold, it's so much easier to like follow and understand what's happening. The like hand holding of the gem system for recommended stuff, even though often it's not the best, is way better than here's a window with 95 gems in it, good fucking luck. The way the game kind of pushes you into these like archetypes of like lightning versus whatever else, like it all kind of it's just way easier. The game is way easier to play if you don't know what's happening. And that's really good. And the moment you leave Act 3, or really Act 6 maybe, and start mapping, it just is bad. Like if I think about every single change from the first game to the second game, I almost can't think of a single positive change when it comes to actual in-game content. Like the change from killing a map boss to killing all rares, who wants that? Like every time I hit tab and scroll through a map trying to find the rare that's hiding in the corner to kill to get progress, like it's just bad.
By the way, this is 6 days old. They've already changed this. This has been changed for a while now, where they not only show up on the map, but you can also teleport around the map. So right here, in a patch that came out January 16th, okay, so almost half a month ago now, they added checkpoints to map areas. And in this one, which is almost 2 months old now, they made it so that if there are checkpoints in an area, you can fast travel between the checkpoints. So, yet again, you are just blatantly fucking wrong.
The map bosses aren't in every map. Why? Map bosses are cool. They're fun. Why can I go an hour without fighting one sometimes? It just makes no sense. Tower.
If you're going an hour without fighting a boss in PoE 2, you are doing it intentionally, and I'll prove it. So here's my Atlas map. Let's see. I already see one boss right here. Here's another boss. Here's another boss. So that's 3. Let's see. 4. 5. 6, 7, 8. Let's see. So far I've seen 8 map bosses already. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So, I think I actually counted those already. So, 14 map bosses just in this alone. If you are going an hour without being able to fight a map boss, you are choosing to not fight a map boss. These things aren't so extraordinarily rare that you just can't find them. That would be citadels. And if you're talking about citadels, then fair enough. But you said bosses. And I can prove that these are bosses because if we come up here, map boss.
Jesus Christ. Sections got depreciated because they were tedious, and sections are like 1,000 times better than towers. Map layouts, like the worst PoE 1 map layout is S+ in PoE 2. I didn't even think it was possible to design map layouts that are so unfun. And checkpoints got added? Jesus, man. Fucking checkpoints. The moment people started asking for checkpoints in maps, that should have been infinite fucking red flags exploding out of every single corner. If layouts are so dog shit that players want checkpoints, that needs to be like a complete redesign of how layouts work.
No, you fucking moron. That's not a red flag. People were at... This is why I know Ben doesn't actually play Path of Exile 2 or actually interact with the Path of Exile 2 community. Because the reason checkpoints were added, the reason why people asked for checkpoints in the maps, is because they would need to find a rare on the other side of the fucking map. And people hated having to trek across the entire map for one rare. That is why people were asking for them. It's not because the layouts are dog shit. It's because one rare could be on the other side of the fucking map.
Work. It's like, how are 80% of layouts like unrunnable? Like fucking Mire, like Augury, like the way loot works.
Mire and Augury are not impossible to run. This is another reason why he probably goes hours without fighting a boss, because he thinks these are unrunnable. They're not unrunnable. There's no map in Path of Exile 2 that is unrunnable. You can run all of them. You can pick and choose which ones you want to run. Are some of them worse than others? Yes, but hey, guess what? Same thing for Path of Exile 1. There are a lot of maps in Path of Exile 1 that if we went by Ben's logic, I would look at and say are unrunnable. But that is just categorically false because that is not possible. You can run them. Some are worse than others, significantly so, but they are not unrunnable.
Works in the end game. 95% of all items drop from rare monsters. Every single trash monster, there's no reason to kill it except for experience. It won't drop loot. It will never drop none of that matters. And like the breach problem as well, like 90% of all loot comes from breaches. And like so much of the shit is like, oh, you can hand me the way with, oh, it's early access. But is it really? Like,
yes! What? Path of Exile 2 is the fucking epitome of early access. There's unbalanced skills. The loot is imbalanced, as you properly point out here. The maps aren't all balanced. There are some maps that are significantly harder than others for various reasons, which you have, I don't know, maybe you get to them in a moment, but you have not mentioned them yet. Path of Exile 2 is the epitome of early access. There is still story content that hasn't even been finished yet. There's in-game content that hasn't even been finished yet.
I mean, to me, when I hear like early access slash beta, what I think is this is an unfinished game that's going to be changed a lot, constantly. It's been 2 months. What's changed?
What's changed? Well, let's go to the patch notes, shall we? So 2 months, okay. So December 3rd is where we are looking for. Okay. Oh, look at this one page. An entire fucking page for Path of Exile 2, okay? Of just hot fixes. Now, let's go to Path of Exile 1. Okay. And in fact, I'll even do you one better. I'll pull up every single patch. Okay. Now I'm not gonna pull up these minor ones, okay? But I'm gonna pull up the major ones. Okay. So let's see. Patch notes. Let's see. Patch notes. Okay. Let's see. Patch notes. Okay. Patch notes. Okay. So let's see. This isn't a patch note. Let's see. A lot of rebalancing. Let's see. They fixed an issue where players get stuck. Atlas points. Let's see. They fixed bugs. They fixed client crashes. Okay. Other crashes. A lot of other crashes. Okay. This was like in the beginning. Okay. Fixing a lot of crashes. Okay. Let's see. Changes to the way campaign boss drop rates work. Changes to Regal Orb drop rates. Change to drop rates. Change to drop to the way this item works entirely. Change to drop rates. Change to drop rates. Change to how rare disenchanting rares work. Let's see. Changes to prefix modifiers on waystones. Change to monster modifiers. Let's see. Change to rare mobs. Change to rare mobs. Fixing a bug. Fixing bugs. So in this one patch, we have huge changes to currencies, to the way currency drop rates work, as well as how some currencies work. Okay. Changes to affixes. Changes to mobs and mob densities. Let's see. Oh, looky here. Changes to the way block works. Changes to player size and the way dodge rolls work. Let's see. Changes to the way monster hitboxes work. Changes to how ascendancies work. Let's see. Changes to that. Improvements to this. Changes to the way skills work. Okay. Let's see. Over here, improvements and general improvements and changes. This was the one where they added the ability to fast travel between checkpoints. Let's see down here, a whole bunch of fucking in-game and monster balance changes. Changes to the Trial of Sekimas. Bunch of changes to the way skill gem balances are. Changes to the way support balances. Changes to item balances. Bunch of bug fixes, okay? Oh, look, a whole bunch of other ones. Let's see. Oh, over here. Massive amount of changes to in-game balances. Changes to skills. Changes to monsters. General changes and improvements. Unique item changes. Oh, wow. Wow, that's a lot. By the way, there's also new ones. A whole bunch of bug fixes. A whole bunch of controller improvements. Like, you want to sit here and say there are no changes happening, that by your definition, early access and betas are where a whole bunch of changes happen constantly. There was a small drought when they went and took a fucking break for the holidays. You don't know what you're fucking talking about because you're not actually involved in the fucking Path of Exile 2 community. Ben, you're just not. Because if you were, by your own definition, this game meets the definition of early access in beta. So if we come to Wikipedia, early access, also known as alpha access, okay, so it's not even a fucking beta yet, okay, it's an alpha. Alpha founding, paid alpha, or game preview is a funding model in the video game industry by which consumers can purchase and play a game in various pre-release development cycles such as pre-alpha, alpha, and or beta, while the developer is able to use those funds to continue further development on the game. How do you gain access to Path of Exile 2? You pay a fee as low as $30, as high as $500, with getting increased rewards and extra cosmetics based on how much you pay. Then you get access to this game, which is pre-release, has development cycles, and you can play it. By its very definition, this game is early access. But that's not all. Because, Ben, you also said beta. Okay? And while this does also cover beta, what does beta mean in a video game? Okay? Let's see. Some key things that you can expect when playing a beta version of a game. Bugs aplenty. Well, we saw from all these patch notes that they have been fixing a lot of bugs. They've been fixing a lot of crashes. They've been changing a lot of different mechanics, stats, and contents based off both data and feedback. The feedback which, Ben, you would know if you were actually involved in the community of Path of Exile 2, which you're not. Not a final product. Well, guess what, Ben? This early access Path of Exile 2 game is not the final product. Limited or open access. Well, guess what? This is a limited access because you have to buy access to the game. So by the definition of what beta is, it is a beta. And by the definition of what early access is, it is early access. And since, as we talked about right over here, okay, early access can mean beta.
Hey, what's fucking changed? There's not even balance changes happening until resets come out. What's fucking changed? There's not even balance changes happening until resets.
There's not balancing happening until resets. Really, Ben? So what do you call all of these changes to uniques? Are these not changes to the balance? Does changing the amount of maximum health that you get not a balance change? Is changing the amount of resistances you get not a balance change? Do these not count as balance changes? Or what about up here where they change the way monsters work? What about up here where they change the way skills work? What about up here where they change how endgame works? What about over here where they fix a whole bunch of bugs? Like this one. Fixed a bug where aftershocks of Rolling Slam were not dealing damage. Is that not a balance change? Considering they were not dealing damage and now they are, thereby increasing the amount of damage Rolling Slam is actually doing. That is a balance change because it changes the balance of Rolling Slam to be higher. It means it's doing more damage. Or what about in this one where they change the way supports work? Or what about up here where they do this massive overhaul to how skills work and how skill balance works? What about over here where they change the way trigger gems and energy gain works? Where this one change alone been literally from what the Path of Exile 2 community has said, this change completely neutered an entire build. Is that not a balance change, Ben? Does that not change how the balance of the game works, Ben? You don't know what the fuck you're talking about when you say, oh, there are no balance changes coming until they do a reset. Shut the fuck up. You don't know what you're talking about.
Like, with new leagues, as if it's a fully released game. I don't fucking get it, man. I don't get it. If PoE 2 stayed with its original scope of new campaign, new gym system, shared endgame, God, it would have been so fucking sick. But like that.
So all the armors need to be for the player characters. Thing that was that was the big problem at the time.
You guys already have a successful game with a second game.
So it's funny because we kind of creeped towards it in a strange way. The very initially, the plan literally was, okay, we need to visually update Path of Exile 1. Kind of creeped towards it in a strange way. Initially, the plan literally was, okay, we need to visually update Path of Exile 1.
I don't fucking get it, man. I don't get it. If PoE 2 stayed with its original scope of new campaign, new gym system, shared endgame, God, it would have been so fucking sick. But like that.
You're literally just straight up wrong here. You don't know what you're talking about.
Endgame, it's not even like, oh, just needs time to cook. It's just like every single change feels like it's just a change because it needed to be different than the first game. But I don't understand how it's better. And the phrase meaningful combat, I swear to God, I've heard the phrase meaningful combat 100 times in the last like 2 years. PoE 2 has the most meaningless combat of any single RPG I've ever played. It doesn't exist. There is no combat. Every single build, you use one button, you right click, the entire screen explodes. Like,
That's literally what you are doing right now. You're using one button, pressing it, and anything on the screen dies immediately. So if Path of Exile 2's combat, which you probably haven't actually properly experienced from what I can tell, is meaningless and pointless, so is Path of Exile 1, and you're still playing it.
what the fuck? Why? Why is that a thing? Why is that still a thing 2 months later? Like, people are gonna be so used to that when they finally take it away, there's gonna be so much complaining. And it is just so boring. Like, killing monsters in that game is so boring because you don't do anything. Even when I tried to like not do that kind of setup, like intentionally skipped heralds on crossbows, it's the same thing. You press galvanic arrow, the entire screen explodes. Even this character falls under the category of one button builds. Like, this be referred to as a one button build in Path of Exile 1. To clear like an expedition, before I had the chest, I would like Enduring Cry, dodge monster abilities with Shield Charge and Frostblink, right click, press Val Grace as a defensive button whenever I felt like it, drop Flame Walls on targets, to buff my shit and do more damage, and Sniper Smart and the tanky bears in there. In Path of Exile 2, you right click. I don't know. I feel like split.
That's literally all you're doing is right clicking and things are just dying. You haven't put up a single flame wall. You haven't done a single sniper's mark. All you have done is right click and move around.
Splitting the game. Like, maybe splitting the games has saved Path of Exile 1 from having a bunch of changes that fucked it up, but like, goddamn, dude, that endgame is like, it's not even.
Oh, so now he's saying that there are a whole bunch of changes that happened in Path of Exile 2 that warrants the different game. Instead of, as he says, ruining Path of Exile 1.
Like, oh, it just needs time. It's just doomed. It's fucking doomed, man. I'm so doomer pilled on that endgame. I don't know. Campaign's good. Campaign's fun. Everything after the campaign, why? It's intelligent to go full nuke. Have you played a bad build in PoE 2 yet? Because I have. I have. That's how I started PoE 2. Was in multiple bad melee builds. It's like Titan, if you play it properly, is really good. If you do Herald Abuse, you just one-shot the screen easily. But like playing actual Titan, if you play it properly, is really good. If you do Herald Abuse, you just one-shot the screen easily.
If you play it properly and play Herald Abuse, you one-shot the screen entirely. So if you play properly and abuse things, you can one-shot the screen. Well, hey, guess what? Oh, looky here. The very first video. Oh, wait, no, sorry. That's for Path of Exile 2. So here's a video from Vector Arrow, who has 36 subscribers. Okay. Let's see how different Path of Exile 1 is from Path of Exile 2, shall we? And you can tell this is Path of Exile 1 because he has 5 flasks. Let's see. This is a 2.5-minute video. So let's see. Brand new map that they're going into, okay? Oh, look, a whole bunch of oh. Oh, he's pressing a single button and literally the entire screen is exploding. Oh, wow. Yeah, this gameplay is so much different than Path of Exile 2. Yeah. Path of Exile 2's combat is the bad combat. Path of Exile 2 is the one with the combat that is meaningless and is the one that has the one-click builds that just cause the entire screen to explode. Not Path of Exile 1. Path of Exile 1, you have to press multiple buttons to have the entire screen explode. Oh. Yeah, it's definitely Path of Exile 2 that does that, not Path of Exile 1. Oh, right there he had to press the right click button several times actually. Oh yeah, meaningless combat. He literally not dying. Literally no chance of him dying there. Oh wow. Oh. Oh wow. Yeah. I think we've seen enough. But you know, it's Path of Exile 2 that has that problem. Not Path of Exile 1.
Playing actual bad melee builds, the pushy, no phasing system genuinely made me almost quit the game on day 3. Like, it's just like the clunkiest, least fun combat I've ever experienced when playing bad builds. And then when playing good builds, the thing with Path of Exile 1, when you get to a character that's like fucking just zoomer, cracked, completely broken, the game is still, like, the game keeps getting more and more fun. Because there's one super important thing you can do in this game, and that is scale speed. Like, when it comes to how a character functions in ARPGs, there's like 3 categories. There's defense, offense, and speed. And this game, you are constantly being just like thrown into scenarios where you're choosing one of the three. And anytime you choose one, the other two suffer a little bit. In PoE 2, it took me like, by level 90, like my Titan would right click and one shot the whole screen. And from that point forward, there's nothing that I could ever do to improve.
That's because you're playing Melee. And Melee is known to have the issue where their skills can't be increased with attack speed. If you played literally any build that was not Titan, you wouldn't have had that problem. Spellcasters can increase the speed with cast speed. Archers in crossbows can increase their speed with attack speed. Monks can increase their speed with attack speed. You played one build and that's it.
The character. I could play for 1,000 hours, it would never get better. Unless I like migrated to Trade League and bought Temporalis, because there's no way to invest in speed except one dumbass unique item. Oh, I didn't even talk about crafting. Holy shit. That was like a 10-minute rant. I didn't talk about crafting. My god. Gear acquisition. What the fuck? Do I need to... I don't know.
No, I'm not even going to let him fucking finish this thought before I get mine out. Crafting in Path of Exile 1 is fucking dog shit. It's dog shit. There's nothing to explain how it works. There's no way to reliably ensure you get what you need without massive RNG and massive amounts of currency, which you can't properly farm until you get to late in-game. Shut the fuck up, you don't know what you're talking about.
I don't know if I even want to bother. Like, fuck me. Long before PoE 2 came out, we had to talk about why other ARPGs suck compared to Path of Exile 1. Like, one defining factor that was super important to me. If the only way to get gear is to kill a monster and hope it drops a good item, that's really bad. That's really, really, really bad. And that was like D3's problem. That kind of became D4's problem as well. Like, that's not interesting. And PoE 1 has like 8 systems that are, you know, that all are good at their own individual crafting thing. Like,
no, they're not.
Harvest, Delve, meta
no, they're not.
Scour Ralphing, all things accommodating right now. Like, there's so many different things, and they're all good for
the crafting is dog shit in
the
Path
early
of
game,
Exile
like day
1.
one, day 2, first 20, 30 hours. Like, you wear shit you ID'd off the ground. Like, that has a place too. But it just gets outscaled, which I think is good. Every single map that I run in PoE 2, I have to pick up every single base type of every single item that I could ever wear, put them all in a quad tab, and then eventually when I get enough, I alch them all, / like augment, transmute, regal, whatever, and then 3-1 them. In the most...
If you are spending that much time, you are doing it wrong. In a story, that's not how you're supposed to do it. You look for the base item that actually fits your build. You look for that. You don't pick every single base item type up that could ever maybe possibly fit maybe your build, maybe. You pick the ones that actually help your build. My Path of 2A filter nukes 90% of all items off of my screen because they don't help my build. They can be used in my build, but they do not help my build. So they get nuked off of my screen.
Most like tedious fucking clunky way ever. Like the 3-1 thing, instead of being a vendor, like the whole vendoring getting split up into like 6.
Also, you're just immediately alking them. You're not looking. By your own admission, you are putting them into a quad tab and then throwing them into the disenchanter. So chances are you're not even looking at what the item has on it already. I would bet my entire fucking PC, my entire Steam account, every single game that I have ever owned, that you do not look at any of those items before you throw them into the disenchanter. I guarantee you don't.
Different systems is one of those changes that's the exact same as the well. It is thematically good. It makes sense. in universe, lore wise, it's good. But when I'm playing the game, I don't care about that. I care about fun. And if I want to turn 21 necrotic armors into 7 rare necrotic armors, I'd rather just vendor all of them at once. I mean, necrotic armors you can't do because, you know, they don't really fit in the window. But like with smaller things, like if I have 40 breach rings, I could just vendor 40 of them and get back like 16 rares. But instead, it's like I'm gonna spend 2 minutes doing a little 3-to-1 fucking thing with an animation. It's like cool. It looks cool.
What the fuck are you talking about with an animation? What the fuck are you actually talking about? So, what he's talking about is the reforging bench. This. Okay. If we come over here and hit reforge, you're talking about that? That not even 2 seconds, that like half a second little thing? That's what you're bitching about? That's what you are bitching about, Ben. Holy shit.
It's cool. Lore, themes, cool. But like, it's so tedious. Tedious is like the key word for everything regarding the endgame mapping and whatnot. Like, I do a map, I leave, I scrap certain things based on if they have quality or sockets. I maybe disenchant if I need Regal Shards, I vendor if not, but only vendor bad bases that I picked up. Good bases have to go into a certain quad tab, and there's no affinities for any of this, and there never will be, because you can't set them up that way. And then you go back.
There never will be. There never will. So, Ben, that means that you have psychic powers, can read the minds of everyone who works at GGG, and know for a fact that affinities will never come to Path of Exile 2. Because that is exactly what you just said. That it will never happen. Let me play it back.
Go into a certain quad tab, and there's no affinities for any of this, and there never will be, because you can't set them up that way. And then
there never will be. Do you know what the definition of never is? Now you might try to say he's being hyperbolic. No. I don't take that bullshit. Never means not ever, on no occasion, at no time, not at all, in no way, absolutely not. Not to ever, not at any time, at no time, whether past, present, or future. That is what never means. I don't give a fuck what he meant. What he said was never. If he said you can't do it right now, I would agree with him. But that is not what he said. He said it will never come to Path of Exile 2. You're a fucking idiot, Ben. You don't know what you're talking about. You don't know that it will never come. You don't know that, and you never can know that. That is a proper use of the word never.
you go back to your main quad tab to dump in all of your other shit, and it's like there's just like so much shit. Like one of the best things about this game in the end game is when you reach a point where you stop picking up 6 sockets, you've outskilled rare items off the ground, and you leave the game or the map, you dump into your quad tab, 90% of your loot is going into affinity tabs. You put in the next map, you go. You can just grind. And map prepping, holy. Like, I'm currently at, like, the worst part of Path of Exile 1 map prepping, which is I'm still doing blue maps. My sustain isn't good enough to bulk roll, and it's still, like, way nicer because I don't have that horrendous fucking Atlas tree. I can run maps that I want to run when I want to run them. I can roll them bulk, like, 20 in advance, and then just grab all 20, put them in the inventory, and just fucking blast on the Atlas.
You can do that in Path of Exile 2 as well, by the way. You literally can do that. My inventory is frequently filled up with at least 10 to 15 maps that I just run back to back. You want to know why I run them back to back? Because I don't sit there like a fucking idiot picking up every single item that might fit my build. I pick up the items that actually help my build.
Atlas Passive Tree. There is no Atlas Passive Tree. You have 30 points and they all say you drop more loot. Like, they all say you drop 1% more loot. That is one of the things where, like,
They don't all say you drop 1% more loot. Not only do they not say you drop 1% more loot, okay? Not only do they not say that, okay? This one increases the number of monster packs in my map. So does this one. This one gives me a increased chance to drop specific types of currency depending on which biome I'm in. This one has it so that my waystones have a chance to be a higher tier. This one increases the effect of prefix mods or suffix mods. This one duplicates rare monsters in my maps. This one gives me an increased chance to have a shrine in my map. This one modifies the explicit modifiers on strong boxes. This one means that the breaches open and close slower. This one increases monster density. This one, let's see, it increases the quantity of expedition logbooks dropped by runic monsters. And when I find them, they always have at least 3 implicit modifiers. Let's see. This one means that areas with map bosses contain additional essences. So, not only do they not say it drops 1% more loot, it modifies the different aspects of the maps. From mob density to the way that breaches actually work. It modifies the number of packs. It modifies the types that I get based off of the biome. It modifies the tier at which the waystones are when they fucking drop. You don't know what you are talking about. This one, corrupted waystones are corrupted in additional time when used to traverse a map. Waystones have more prefix or more effect on the suffix modifiers when opening a map. Need I go on about the Atlas skill tree in Path of Exile 2? I'm leaving up Path of Exile 2.
Like, that will naturally get fixed as more stuff is added to the game. They'll expand that. Like, that's one of the things you can kind of hand wave away with, like, oh, it's EA. Like, so much of it is like it's not like the game is just lacking content. That's not the problem. Like, most of it is like very intentional choices that are like neat, that look good, but when it comes to actually playing the game, it just feels so fucking tedious and doesn't know what it wants to be. That's where I feel like the gem system currently is. I feel like the gem system doesn't know what it wants to be. Because originally, gems were going to be not damage multipliers. Like, supports were not going to be damage multipliers. But then...
Where's your source for this? This has never been stated anywhere. Give me a source for this. Otherwise, until you provide a source for this, you are doing nothing but lying, Ben. As you have been for most of this video.
And they made the damage multipliers, and then they added a 1 support gem limit, which just feels really weird. Like, I don't like it at all, where it currently is. I feel like either of the other options are better than what it currently is. It's in this, like, weird, like, halfway point, where, like, making it so there's no damage multipliers on supports and it's all utility could be a thing that could feel good if it was done right. And just keeping the PoE 1 system of, like, your supports just make you do more damage also obviously feels good. We've been using it for 12 years, it's been good. But this current in-between thing just creates these really annoying scenarios.
By the way, they haven't been doing the 1 support gym thing for years. Because in Path of Exile 1, you can still do that! You're lying again!
Where I want to use multiple active skills and I can't because there aren't support gems for it. Like, I'm sitting there on a 5 link and getting a 6 link wouldn't matter because there's not a support gem that works that actually helps me, and it's like that feels really weird. And maybe as
The reason why is because you're an idiot and don't know how the gyms work, okay? I don't even have 6 links on, I don't even have 5 links on most of them. And there are still support gyms that I want to put on all of these. This is the only one that's at 5 gyms, and it's because it automatically comes with that. And there's still a 6th one I want to put here. The Skeletal Warriors is the only exception because they don't really do much for my specific build.
they add more active gyms to the game, that'll be better. If they also add more supports, but like I don't know if they will. We'll see if they will.
You don't know if they will. You don't know if they will. Well, let's see. Oh, let's see. There's 3 right there. Oh, there's another 3. There's another 3. There's 4. Let's see. Oh, there's 4. Oh, if we go to all gyms, let's see. Oh, yeah, I don't know. Guys, I don't know if they're ever going to add any more support gyms ever to this game. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. God, man, you know, I don't know if they're going to add more skill gyms to this game at all. You know, guys, like, I really don't know if they're going to add anything else to this game as far as like, as far as skill gyms and whatnot are concerned. I don't know, you know? It's like, there's really no way to actually tell if they're going to be adding any other gyms to this game. There's just no way to tell!
Oh shit, the mana cost. Wait, I'm not even gonna bother. I'm not gonna bother. The funniest thing was when Karm was bitching in guild chat, he got like an insane weapon. Super good weapon, like fucking 700 top end plus 7. And his Hammer of the Gods cost more mana than his character had. Oh, fuck. Maybe in 5 years. I just want quarterly updates for this game. And maybe port back the gym system, but without the one support gym on it. Because like that's genuinely the thing that I've been most excited for since fucking 2020 when they announced that shit. Like, that gym system has so much more potential than this one does. I don't like its current, like, the way it currently works, but like, it could be so good, especially in the campaign. Like, God, dude, gems in the campaign are so fucking bad in Path of Exile 1. Like, you just wear, like, your Act 1 3 link for 4 acts, then you wear your Act 3 4 link for 10 acts, because, like, you don't have currency manipulating tools for your sockets until you're in maps, and it's, like, it's so dog shit in the campaign. Like, that gem system plus new ascendancies, what a beautiful world it could have been. I don't like the investment you have to do on a single gem in PoE 2. So one thing that feels kind of weird about that right now, it feels like the drop rate and the whole way the gem system works would make more sense if you instead 6-linked your character slot, not the gem itself. But the problem with that is you can't trade that. So like as soon as you consume that thing, you can't trade it, which I'm pretty sure is why it doesn't work that way. Consumable. Yeah, but like things being tradable is very important to them. It always has been. Like you make a good item, you can then trade it later. You 6-link that item, you can still trade it later. So like the gem itself being the thing that gets 6-linked makes sense because then you can trade it later if you want to. But the downside of that is like the ability to test different skills is kind of limited as soon as you're in the end game, because if you 5-link a skill and you kind of like are like, wait, now I want to test this other one that's thematically similar but not quite the same. In this game you can just swap your gems and your thing, but in that game you can't because like the gem itself is the 5-link. I don't really know what that's a bad thing though, but I also generally play the game with pretty...
By the way, something he's just glossing over here is right here he has a 5-link on his chest. If you want a 6-link, one, you have to get a item that has a 6-link. Then you have to either consume a shitload of orbs of fusing in order to actually guarantee it's a 6-link. Then you have to consume a shitload of chromatic orbs in order to guarantee it has the colors that you actually want. Whereas over here, you don't. All you have to do is just 5 link, and then 6 link the skill gem. And then no matter what, this skill gem, this skeletal arsonist is always 3 link. Always 4 link. Always 5 link. I can remove it. I can put a different gem over here. Doesn't matter. This the gem alone is always going to be that number. I don't have to worry about trying to ensure that a specific gear slot has all of the skill links that I need in the exact order that I need them, as well as the exact number of different types of colors that I need it. Don't need to worry about any of that. Like my flame wall, I would have to ensure that it has a blue, red, and green skill gem in it, and that they are all linked. For context, by the way, so best case scenario, you have a 22.2% chance per chromatic orb. Okay, in Path of Exile 1, I would have a 22.2% chance in best case, right, of getting a 3 link that has these 3 with a chromatic orb. Okay. For a typical hybrid item, the chance is between 5 and 15%. And for an item that is strongly skewed towards one specific attribute, the chance is 1 to 2% or lower. Okay. In Path of Exile 1, if I wanted to guarantee at least 1 red and 1 green, it would cost 15 chromatic orbs. Minimum, and that does not guarantee you the blue slot. So you could sit there and go and go and go and go and spend potentially hundreds of chromatic orbs trying to get this 1 blue slot and never get it. Whereas in Path of Exile 2, bing, bing, bing. And by the way, I still have 3 more of these.
Like, I plan out everything I'm gonna do very far in advance, so like I don't really run into the negatives of that. I feel like in the campaign you can easily like test 3 links and 4 links constantly and test new skills, and by the time you get a 5 link, you should like kind of know what you want, I guess. I don't know. But if you 5 link a shit skill, can it actually sell? I haven't looked at trade markets and whatnot. And can essences please drop 100 mapping reviews, 1 vigil per 2 days? I did 100 rarity mapping for like 10 days playtime and didn't drop a single one. I actually had the 154 rarity for 10 days playtime farming breach with rares. I got 1 perfect 6 link on like day 2 on a no rarity character, and I got my last one like a day before I stopped playing. But I think that was just unlucky. Like most people that I saw had better RNG there. Like fucking Alk rolled hardcore self found and had 2 in like a day. He's just better. Oh, also one of the
Yes, that is called RNG. What RNG stands for is random number generator. All games, every single game ever created has RNG. Some players get lucky, some don't. I'll give you an example. There's this game I used to play called Ashen Empires. In it, there's an item called the Werewolf Totem. What it does is it increases your attack speed by the highest amount of any of them, and it never wears off once you activate it, and it is not consumed. Okay, so you can activate it and deactivate it at any time. The way you get it is you have to go and kill werewolves on what is known as Werewolf Isle. Okay, and depending on which werewolf you kill, they have a higher % chance of dropping it. The most prevalent monster you're going to kill there is just the normal werewolf, which I believe, if memory serves, had about a 5% chance of dropping it. I know people who have killed tens of thousands of these werewolves. Never got it. I went there on my very first character and got it after killing 70 werewolves. Okay, now there are werewolf sires and werewolf matriarchs which have a higher chance. I didn't kill any of them. I had killed strictly werewolves because those were the only ones that I could actually kill. Okay? And I got it after 70. I got extremely lucky. Extremely. And speaking of luck, if we go back over here, okay. Again, you'll see that these two have 4 links and the rest have 3. I have put in a lot of time on this character. I have never had a greater drop. The one that gives you 4 links or 4 gem sockets on one of these, okay? And to put this into perspective, I'm on like tier 8 maps. I know people who have gotten them to drop on tier 5 maps, tier 4 maps. And not just one, but multiple. I know people who by the time they got to tier 8 maps, they're sitting on 6, or not 6, on 5 socket, multiple 5 socket skill gems. Okay.
Another good thing to talk about instead of only talking about the bad things. The breach boss is fucking sick. That boss is really good. And Arbiter phase 2 is pretty sick too. I'm so surprised by how little changes are happening though. Like that's the thing that really stands out to me for an EA.
A few changes. Motherfucker, go read the damn patch notes. Go read the fucking patch notes. Before you sit here and spew bullshit, go read the patch notes.
Game, like there's just like so little.
Also, speaking on bosses, if the bosses he is talking about, okay, that's not it. If the bosses he is talking about are like the breach boss, the expedition boss, the arbiter boss, like if these are the bosses he is talking about going hours without fighting them, fair. Entirely fair, I agree with him. Okay. But if he's talking about the bosses on the maps, he's a fucking moron. I only just thought of that.
Being changed. I feel like they're afraid to nerf things because they know when they fix.
They're not afraid to nerf things. They're not at all. They are careful with what they nerf and how they nerf it. That does not mean that they are afraid of nerfing it.
The current broken ass builds, people are gonna be mad, but you gotta rip the band-aid off. I don't think waiting is good. Like when they do the reset, it's gonna or like when they do the nerfs, it's gonna be with an economy reset, which is like obviously the ideal solution for.
That's literally false information. They nerfed Supercharged Slam so that it was no longer one-shotting bosses. Community really hated that. They nerfed the Cast on Freeze Comet so that it wasn't screen nuking. Community really hated that. They're not afraid to nuke these builds into the ground. They're just careful about when and how they do it, which is what they should be doing.
A finished game. That's how it always should be in a finished game. But I just feel like first impressions of like how a game plays is like,
it's not a finished game. Half the campaign isn't even fucking made yet. Which you would know if you weren't keeping up to date. They've said in multiple interviews, both after and before the launch of early access, that they stopped production on Acts 4 to 6 because they wanted to work on the end game.
it's like really important. And if you just leave it for, I mean, we're coming up on 2 months, and we don't even have a date yet for Druid Huntress. So like, is it going to be 3 months before the first?
We literally do. We know about where those stand. In fact, my boy Jazarus has a video talking about the data mined weapon sets from Path of Exile that weren't there on launch. By the way, which means they've been added in post-launch, which means they are preparing the actual potential release of those characters. So while we have no hard definitive dates, we know that they are working on them because they are working on the weapon sets that they will be coming into the game with.
And if so, like 3 months of combat being like what I have to assume is nowhere near where they want it to be. There's no way they're happy with the current combat in PoE 2. It's not even just Herald of Ice though. Like that's a big one, but like even non-Herald builds kind of do the same thing. Like Galvanic Arrow does the same thing. Lightning Arrow without Herald of Ice can do the same thing. It's a little bit weaker, but just like the general, like I just like they talked so much about combos, about like you're gonna use multiple skills in PoE 2, and I haven't even come close. Like, I haven't played a single build that uses even half the amount of skills that Path of Exile 1 uses.
You played one character and abused heralds of your own admission. Quote, if you play Titan correctly in herald abuse, you can clear the screen. Those are your words, Ben.
Played every single archetype. Like, I think the build that I played that has the most character input in terms of like you press buttons to kill monsters is Spark. Spark, which is like historically kind of considered to be a non-interactive playstyle. Like you just press a button and the whole screen gets covered in proj, but somehow Spark, from like a character input point of view, has been the most engaging combat of any of the, or like the most engaging while still being fun combat. Because it's pretty fucking engaging to get your shit pushed in by trash monsters that can push you across the screen whenever they want on a melee character that can't.
That has already been fixed, by the way.
Kill anything. It's pretty engaging, it's not fun. Didn't play minions. I did play minions until Act 3. I played minions until Act 3, learned that when if you outrange them, they despawn and logged out. But they fixed that, apparently, so I might try again soon. When they add spec.
Yes, they fixed that. Because people were bitching about how fucking bullshit it was. Pretty much every fucking video I ever made on Path of Exile 2 before, I mentioned that fact.
Vectors, maybe I'll try minions again. We'll see. 326 when? How long does this go on YouTube? I don't know. I normally, like, the reason it's taking me like 2 months to really put it all into words is because I really don't like being negative. I want to enjoy things, but like, goddamn. And I just wanted to like wait, you know, and give them time to cook, time to change things and fix things, but it's been 2 fucking months, so who knows?
Oh, it's been 2 months, so they're clearly not going to change anything. They're not going to change anything at all. That's why they're definitely not going to be adding any other skill gems to this game. Just absolutely no other skill gems are ever going to come to this game. Just none whatsoever out of this entire game. They're just going to be fucking no additional skills at all added to this fucking game. They're not gonna make any changes whatsoever to this game.
Who knows?
Even though they, you know, had to take a break for the holidays, which we knew they were going to do because they said they were doing it. Even though fucking making changes on a large scale like this takes more than a fucking week!
At least Path of Exile 1 still exists and is in a really good state.
Ben, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You're not a part of the community. You don't read the patch notes. You don't play the game. How long did you play your Spark build for, huh? You seemed real quick to say, oh, I played minions until Act 3 and then just logged out. You seemed real quick to talk about how you abused heralds and played Titan. You seemed real quick to talk about how there's no speed scaling based off of your one play style of Titan. which is known to have none because those are melee skills, and that has been a big point of contention to this day. In fact, it's part of the reason. Let me find it real quick. It's part of the reason this change was made. It's part of the reason this change was made. It's not the whole reason, but it's part of it. Like, I have played minions the most of any of my characters. And I have had more fun with minions, which, surprise, don't really have speed scaling, than any other build. So yeah, Ben, maybe actually go and play Path of Exile 2 and play more than one build before you try to trash talk Path of Exile 2. Now, don't get me wrong. Path of Exile 2 has issues. But so does Path of Exile 1. And Path of Exile 1 is not in early access. It's a released game. Whilst Path of Exile 2 is in early access. I didn't think I'd be making an hour-and-a-half video responding to a 16-minute video, but here we fucking are, Ben. Go and educate yourself on why Path of Exile 2 exists before saying you don't know why it exists. Go and educate yourself on how there are fucking builds in Path of Exile 1 which press one button and clear the entire fucking screen. One button. He is clearing the entire screen. Sometimes he's not even pressing a button and the screen explodes. Ben, how do I know more about how Path of Exile 1 one-shot screen clear builds work than you? I don't know why it's buffering like that. All links that I've shown in this video will be down in the description. Have a good day, everyone. If you liked the video, hit like and subscribe. If you didn't, hit dislike, leave a comment, let me know why. And I'll see you next time.